And staying with the region, let's look at another Indian neighbor, Myanmar. The country is in the middle of a civil war right now. The ruling junta is on one side, an ethnic rebel alliance is on the other side. Now, India has always demanded a return to democracy, but it's never condemned the junta, not like Western countries have, which is why a new development has raised questions. Look at this report. It says rebel groups have been invited to a seminar in New Delhi. It's being organized by the ICWA, that's the Indian Council of World Affairs. It's a government-funded council. Even Foreign Minister Jaishankar is part of it. And who got the invite? The National Unity Government, which is a parallel regime, the Chin National Front, the Arakan Army, and the Kachin Independence Army. These are armed ethnic militias. They're fighting to topple the military regime. Their goals remain a bit unclear, but the broad agreement is to re-establish democracy in Myanmar. So if India invites these groups, it's a big move. It would mean that New Delhi is keeping its options open. But frankly, it's not a surprise. Minister Jaishankar had met the junta's foreign minister in July. Look at his statement afterwards. And I'm quoting, India supports the return of democracy in Myanmar and engages all stakeholders in that regard. Let me underline, all stakeholders. And why not? The junta is not as strong as it used to be. The rebels now control around 50% of the country. At first, the fighting was limited to border regions, but now they're targeting the heartland. Military bases have been attacked. Even the junta chief's house was targeted. These rebels also have powerful supporters. Reports say Western volunteers have joined their fight. We're talking about ex-soldiers from the US and Britain. They're training and fighting with the rebels. Officially, their governments may criticize it, but surely they are in the know. Reports also say that the rebels are armed and funded by the West. What about the other side? Well, the junta is mainly backed by Russia and China, but China is also playing both sides. They support the rebels and the junta. In this backdrop, you can see what India is trying to do. Almost everyone is meddling in Myanmar. So you must be prepared for anything. You can't operate in darkness. Plus, India has a lot at stake here. We share a 1,600-kilometer-long border with Myanmar. Many communities on both sides share familial ties. Some armed groups also operate near the border. They cross over, they launch attacks, and then cross back. It's a big headache for India. That is why the government is planning to fence the border to increase security. New Delhi also has important investments in Myanmar, like the $400 million Kaladan port and a $250 million road project. These initiatives require local support. The junta sitting in the capital cannot offer that. You must engage the local ethnic armies. And all of this makes one thing quite clear. It is in India's interest to engage with the rebels. The only question is, what is the end goal? Is it only about protecting investments? Is it about bringing back democracy? Is it about sending a message to the junta? Or is it about keeping the likes of China and the West in check? Possibly it's a mix of all of these. The last few years have certainly made Indian diplomacy more flexible. No one is off limits anymore. Not the Taliban in Afghanistan, not the Islamists in Dhaka, the Marxists in Sri Lanka, and not the rebels in Myanmar. It's a policy rooted in ground realities and pragmatism.